Hello there, boys and girls. It's your old pal Ian Totten here. I'm going to do a little preview for you for my brand new book, The House of Silver Doors. This is the one book I've put out that there's been a lot of anticipation for. So, here we go. September. It was a dark, overcast morning, the kind frequent in northern New Jersey during the fall, which lets those who call the area home know that summer is indeed over and winter is just around the corner. A young man in a blue parka made his way cautiously up through the woods, a light breeze ruffling his short, light brown hair. A thin film of sweat ran down his face and made the inside of the parka feel balmy. Stopping, he stared up the hill through the dense trees, trying to see the top. Unable to, he started upwards again, his breath coming in shallow gasps. His name was Mark Galtaway, and on this, the last day of summer vacation before his senior year, he was 18. If you'd asked Mark why he was stomping through the woods at 7:45, his brown eyes would have clouded over with confusion while he sought for a way to explain that he himself had no more idea why than he knew why he disliked his hometown of Collier's Crossing. It just was. Reaching the midway point of the hill, a nameless sense of dread seemed to settle on him, running down his throat like a trickle before settling into his stomach like a lead weight. He knew that there was another way up to the house, that a driveway that had long ago been blocked off with concrete retaining wall meandered up the far side of the hill, passing what the locals called Dracula's Tomb, an old concrete fountain set into the side of the hill with a goat head for the fountain spigot. Something about the blackened stone head had always given Mark a case of the willies, though, and on this fog-enshrouded morning he couldn't seem to bring himself to walk past it. Looking crestward again, Mark was just able to see the top of a high stone wall. Thinking about the wall and what lay beyond it, Mark felt the dread clench his stomach as though with claws. He winced at the pain. Tomorrow's the first day of my last year of high school, he thought. And here I am, climbing Collier's Hill. For what? To see the Blairsden house? To get a good view of the town? What? Just the thought of the mansion that lay beyond the old stone wall above made Mark shiver involuntarily, and he found himself turning round and looking out at the world below. A thick forest of fog-enshrouded trees, oak, beech, and pine, stretched outwards and down from his vantage point, marching off in all directions as if hell-bent on covering the world with their foliage. Here and there Mark could faintly see breaks in this ocean of brightly colored leaves. A house or two over in the section known by the local as the Skids, where those with lower incomes lived, filling these breaks with their ghostly visages. Except to the southwest, where Mark knew the break in the trees was caused by Lake Hyena. Turning in that direction, Mark saw the lake was just a large gash in the tree line, its sparkling dark waters hidden from view, though Mark knew that fair weather or foul it would be busy down at the lake today. Its placid waters were still warm enough for any brave soul to swim in. His brow creased as he thought of all the people who would be down there today. All those he went to school with, certainly, lounging on the small beach, splashing in the black water, maybe trying to cop a feel and score with their summer sweethearts. Not for me, though, Mark thought dejectedly. No, Mark knew he was cut from a vastly different cloth than his peers, a dreamer and social outcast who would much rather spend his last hours of total freedom investigating a local myth rather than waste his time sitting on the beach watching others have fun, knowing as a duck knows to fly south for the winter that though he might appear similar to them all, he really wasn't a part of them. A sudden gust walled up through the trees, cutting through his windbreaker. Mark shivered again and turned back up the hill, hunching his large shoulders as he left the valley far below. His meaty frame seemed to cut a swath through the dense underbrush as Mark continued ever upward. That's one of the things which keeps me apart from them, he mused, as he stepped over a rotted tree, causing beetles to scurry across the mottled bark as he passed. I'm fat and they hate me for it. Truth be told, Mark's weight did set him apart from his peers, though that he wasn't fat like the men he used to see on the bus from Collier's Crossing to Lake Apatcon as a child, when on pleasant summer days his mother Linda would drag him and his younger sister Mary over to see their Aunt Cheryl. Those men had seemed to fill 2, sometimes 3 seats at once as they sat there reading their Tom Clancy and Robert Lundgren paperbacks. The other passengers looked on them with quiet disdain and even revulsion. Mark was at an in-between, not skinny enough to be considered attractive, yet just large enough to draw scorn and baleful whispers in the hallway or on the street. Deep down, Mark knew that the hateful looks from the girls like Mindy Worcester, with her soft red hair and too tight skirts, and the cruel jeers from lumbering brutes like Adam Manning, would cease to matter at all once he graduated. To hell with them all. I couldn't care less what they think, Mark had told himself many times. On this cold, foggy September morning, though, with school start a mere day away, all the years of cruelty seemed to weigh heavily on Mark's shoulders like a 1,000-pound weight. Shoving the thoughts aside, Mark focused on the task ahead, while in the back of his mind a tiny voice seemed to whisper that this latest adventure was a last-ditch attempt to gain their acceptance. This voice spoke anew as Mark looked up again and saw the old crumbling wall dominate the skyline through the thin veil of trees. "Go back," that voice seemed to whisper. "It's not worth it, man. Trust me." These thoughts were lost on Mark as over the top of the wall he saw the tip of a weather vane and the glittering doors that sat atop his quarry, the Blairsden house, which Mark had decided to, for some unfathomable reason, explore today. Mark played the old ghost stories over in his mind as he reached the top of the hill. All about him was wreathed in a cold fog, so that when the rock wall surrounding the Blairsden property suddenly sprang into being out of nothing, it gave his heart a start. The air was dead and quiet about him as Mark stopped to examine the field stones set with mortar. Mold crawled across many of their faces and clung to the spaces in between, while ivy and creepers seemed determined to reclaim the whole thing for the earth from whence they were taken. So much has happened here, Mark thought, touching his hand to the stones, which were cold and damp. So much history and sorrow. There you go. There's your little sneak peek of The House of Silver Doors. Just came out today, May the 8th. Go out and get a copy. I'm really interested to hear what you guys think of it. All right, bye.